Yes, we're doing real versus PK 5.0. You don't even have to ask. What's up, sneaky people? It's your boy FB Kicks in Gear, and I am back. And before you guys can flood my comments of the first video with when are we gonna do PK 5.0, I'm already there. I'm beating you guys to it. I have the PK 5.0. I know that whenever I do a Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low video, you guys want to see what that PK 5.0 looks like, because in some cases, that PK 5.0, if you don't know the details, you will get scammed. And that's what I'm here to prevent. That's why this is a legit checking channel. So with that said, we have my beautiful, kind of beautiful, authentic pair here on the left, and we have the PK 5.0 on the right. And remember guys, if you need more information beyond what I point out in this video, because I can only really talk about so much, go to the Instagram account on the screen. You're gonna see all of the detailed information that you need to be able to legit check these shoes yourself. So we are going to jump right into this real versus fake comparison, looking at the boxes. And just like in the previous video, you can see the box colors are different. This is more in line with previous releases that we've had, like the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low Golf, and maybe even the reverse mochas, but this is the identical box to the Canary Travis Scott Jordan 1 Lows. So that box color, super easy for you guys to pick up on. I'm not going to waste any time with that. Let's get into what you guys really care about, which is the shoes. Now, I mentioned in the last video that these shoes, for whatever reason, for good reason actually, remind me of the Ninja Turtles. So you can see my mecha robotic Leonardo in the background over here. But I know that you guys aren't here for my figures that are plastered around my work studio. You guys are here for this real versus fake comparison. So let's jump right into it. And I'm gonna say, before I even start talking about materials and such, the one thing that I noticed right off the bat with this PK 5.0 is that the PK 5.0 here on the right, the toe box just looks bigger than on the authentic pair. Not only is it bigger, it's like flatter and a little bit more like wide and oblong, if that makes sense. It just looks like the nubuck portion of this toe box takes up a lot more space on the rep than it does on the authentic pair. So that might lend itself to shape differences, but take a look at that and commit that to memory, because that's something that immediately stood out to me. But while we're looking at that, we might as well do a shape comparison. Here's the authentic pair on the top, PK 5.0 on the bottom. And I gotta say, based on what I can see, it almost looks like the PK 5.0 just has a longer, slimmer profile than the retail pair. I don't know how really to describe it. It just feels like the upper of the shoe is angled more this way, while the authentic pair is just a bit taller. So with this pair, we're starting to see shape take on a factor here. If we look at the other shoe, I think we can see a similar thing going on here. Just a wider toe box and a shape that is just a little bit lower to the ground than on the authentic pair. So definitely something to pay attention to when you're doing your legit checking. But from there, let's just take a look at the materials and the things that we really should focus on when it comes to Travis Scott Jordan 1 Lows. Now, side by side, I can see that there's definitely a little bit of a color difference when comparing the nubuck of the authentic pair to the nubuck of the PK 5.0. And the PK 5.0 is just a darker khaki green, while my retail pair is a true like olive color. This is almost reminiscent of like a darker version of the Travis 1 Golfs. And I know that we'll have differences between retail pairs when it comes to this. So put that in your memory bank for now, but that's what I'm seeing. Another thing that I'm noticing is that the nubuck itself is definitely shorter haired than the nubuck of the authentic pair. You can see the motion and the ashiness that comes with that transitional nubuck, and you're not really seeing it that much with the rep. Going on to the side panels, you got like a similar deal here. A little bit more motion on the rep here, but definitely a lot more going on with the authentic pair. The nubuck is just, it has longer hair on the authentic pair than it does on the rep. Outside of that, you can see that there is definitely some swoosh positioning differences, but to be honest, I've seen retail pairs of plenty of Travis Scott Jordan 1s that have wonky swoosh placement too, so that can happen. This is probably more so influenced by the height of the shoe than anything else, because if you look at the distance from the tip of the Nike swoosh compared to the authentic, it's still spaced well, but they almost kind of had to flatten it out a little bit just to keep in line with the rest of the shoe. Moving on to the backs, we'll go to what I love to look at when it comes to the white leather of these reverse mochas, these Travis Scott Jordan 1 Golfs, these olives. The white leather on authentic pairs is almost entirely 100% of the time a brighter white than the white leather of the reps, and we can see that here too. The rep is almost a off-white, very light hint of warm gray compared to the authentic pair. You can just see it's a fuller, brighter white, and that extends to the entire shoe. Huge difference? Absolutely not, but it is something that I have started to pick up on when I am doing these legit checks. So while we're looking at this angle, we'll see the reverse swoosh or the regular swoosh. Very much identical in terms of the material that they're using. You can see that texture, tumbling on it. It's a nice leather, probably the nicest leather that's on the entire upper of the shoe. You can also see the cactus jack and see how that in these sizes, in most sizes actually, below size 12, you want to see some engagement with this stitch and the C. So they both have it. The one thing I will say though is that the cactus jack is definitely a lot more prominent on the authentic pair than it is on the rep, and you can kind of see that in how faint and skinny the lettering is. The authentic pair is just more intense and also a bit more vibrant of a red, so you can see that for sure. Moving on, we'll take a look at the midsoles. I'll say that this midsole is definitely a lot closer in color than on the rep from the first video, and you can actually see that when we're doing that side by side. Even though the white leathers are slightly different, these are definitely more in line with each other. And moving on to the outsole, similar deal, honestly. Not something that I can pick up right now in this studio lighting. So yeah, outsole, midsole, pretty good on this pair. Significantly better than on the first. From there, we'll take a look at the tongues. And when we compare the tongues, I don't know if you guys can see it in the screen, but there is a slight difference in the nylon color of the rep tongue compared to the authentic. It's slight, but it's there. I'd say that the authentic pair is just a little bit lighter of an olive green. Very slight. But when we get together and we compare the Cactus Jack and the Nike Air, they're pretty much in line with each other. Maybe slight differences between the Nike Air colors. Very slight. Taking a look at the lace boxes without taking the laces out, we have the rep pink versus the authentic. You can see that the rep box is definitely a different color brown. It's definitely a lot sturdier too compared to the authentic box. The pinks, however, look pretty much identical. Pulling out the black pair, you see the same as well. One thing that I've noticed about these reps, and outside of the box being different, the laces are nicely wound in these boxes compared to the authentic, where the black and the pink have kind of just haphazardly been thrown in there. But that box color is definitely an indicator. The next thing that we're going to look at is the insole test. You guys know that when I look at an authentic midsole in this style for a Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low, we're going to look at the colors and the textures of the material, but we're going to focus on the hair of the Cactus Jack. Notice how wiry and thin it is. Pulling out the rep, you can see that colors slightly vary for sure. The black backing is a little bit different on the Authentic compared to the Rep. The Nike Air colors are different when compared to the Rep. But most importantly, you see that the hair is always more blocky and blotchy on the replica insole than compared to the Authentic. This is probably one of the most low-key legit checking indicators that exists for this shoe and for all the Travis Scott Jordan 1 lows. So let's do a very, very quick blacklight test. Based on the last video, we know that the Authentic pairs only light up on the tongue tags, on the insole where it says Travis Scott, on the back of the tongue tag, and some slight reaction out of the Cactus Jack text on the mid panel. Everything else is pretty much muted on the shoe. So let's take a look at the Rep and see if there's anything that pops up. Interesting, we are getting some reaction out of the white lace. Now, I didn't really check on the last one, so definitely not the same kind of reaction. The white laces on the PK 4.0 are reactive, and the ones on the Authentic pair are not. So that's definitely interesting. Let's see what else we can find. Cactus Jack tongue for sure lights up. Travis Scott on the inside lights up. The back of the tongue tag lights up. And we are not really getting reaction out of the Cactus Jack on the side. Not when you compare it to the Authentic. I say the blacklight test has shown us a little bit more than we anticipated. That white lace is lighting up pretty heavily. This is correct. The back of the shoe is correct. And very little reaction out of the Cactus Jack. So, I'd say your two biggest indicators right there are the white lace and the lack of reactivity on the Cactus Jack text on the side. Let's get the lights back on and wrap up the video. So there we have it, folks. We have our first PK 5.0 Travis Scott Jordan 1 low comparison for the medium olives. And I gotta say that while they definitely give off the presence of the Authentic pair, there are legit check indicators on this shoe that you can use. The blacklight test definitely works well. You do not want this white lace to light up, and you do want some reaction out of your Cactus Jack sign, and we did not get that on the Rep. You definitely want to see a little bit more texture to the material than what we see here, enough to have movement, and we're not really seeing it on movement here. We'll definitely pay attention to the size of that toe box. You can see definitely have a larger toe box on the Rep than on the Authentic pair. And that pretty much wraps it up. If there are more things that you guys want to see like this, I'll include a still here so that you guys can look at the embroidery. You guys know I don't really pay that much attention to the embroidery because it's garbage on the Authentic pairs too. So pay attention to that. You can look at the smile as well. And that will wrap it up for this video. So remember, guys, you can find all the detailed pictures you need of the Rep on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. Do your research, folks. Do your research. And with that said, I will see you in the next one. Peace.